Hit me, producer Potts.
Dr. Sarah, why are legumes a Nutrivore foundational food?
Legumes are amazingly nutrient dense. By far the most nutrient dense starchy foods on average. They include our most concentrated food sources of fiber, are generally pretty impressive on the protein front. And they're typically great sources of vitamin B1, vitamin B2, vitamin B6, biotin, folate, copper, iron, magnesium, manganese, phosphorus, potassium, selenium, and zinc. Plus, they tend to be very high in polyphenols. We're used to thinking about fruits, vegetables, tea, coffee, and chocolate as our best food sources of polyphenols. But there are some legumes that blow all of those out of the water.
Dr. Sarah, so what are the health benefits of eating legumes?
Legumes are pretty great at lowering blood pressure. There was a 2023 cross-sectional study in people with type 2 diabetes that showed that those who ate legumes at least 3 times per week had significantly lower systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Legumes also help to lower cholesterol. In a 2007 randomized controlled clinical trial, eating half a cup per day of pinto beans, that's just one serving, for 8 weeks caused a 19% decrease in LDL cholesterol. But you don't have to stick with just pinto beans. Lots of other beans have similar studies. And as you would expect from any food that lowers blood pressure and cholesterol, we see that eating legumes reduces risk of heart disease. A 2017 meta-analysis showed that the people who ate the most legumes had a 10% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and a 10% lower risk of coronary heart disease than the people who ate very few legumes. Eating legumes reduces risk of some forms of cancer. The strongest data is for colorectal cancer, prostate cancer, and breast cancer. For example, a 2015 meta-analysis showed a 9% reduction in colorectal cancer risk for people eating the most legumes compared to the fewest. A 2017 meta-analysis showed a 15% reduction in prostate cancer, again comparing high versus low legume consumption. And we have a couple of case control studies showing anywhere between a 20% and 45% reduction in breast cancer risk, but definitely we need more studies there. Eating more legumes also reduces risk of type 2 diabetes and can improve glycemic control in people with type 2 diabetes. We have a few different studies showing that high versus low legume intake reduces risk of developing type 2 diabetes by anywhere between 29 and 38%. And a 2009 meta-analysis that encompassed data from 41 clinical trials that showed that eating legumes as part of an overall high fiber, low glycemic diet lowered fasting blood glucose levels, lowered fasting insulin, and lowered hemoglobin A1C. And of course, eating legumes just makes us healthier overall, as measured by reductions in all-cause mortality, an indirect way to measure overall health and longevity. A 2023 systematic review and dose response analysis showed that for every 50-gram increase in legumes we consume daily, that lowers all-cause mortality by 6%.
So, Dr. Sarah, how much of legumes do we need to gain all these amazing health benefits?
Generally, studies show the more legumes we eat, the better. But if we want to look at the science to find a minimum target, we have a few different studies that compare eating legumes 4 times per week or more to rarely consuming legumes, like once or twice per month. And just that 4 servings per week reduces risk of cardiovascular disease by 22%. Even 2.5 servings per week reduces cardiovascular disease risk by 14%. But I think 4 servings is a great place to start. And the benefits of legumes don't cap out until at least 1.5 servings per day. A serving for pulse legumes is defined as half a cup cooked, which is the equivalent of 1 ounce for the raw dried version. So like dried lentils or split peas or kidney beans. That's also, if you're measuring it out in a measuring cup, about 1/5 of a cup for the raw dried version. And a serving for tofu, tempeh, or natto is just 1/4 cup.
So, Dr. Sarah, when we're thinking about adding legumes, can we count like canned beans, and also like, I know you're a big fan of like these legume pastas. Do those count the same as us getting the dried beans from the store and cooking them ourselves? Are we missing out on anything?
No, you're not missing out on anything. 100% canned bean options count. The super cool pasta options made with chickpeas or lentils or soybeans or edamame or black beans, those all count. You could have soybean snacks, or I love these like mung bean salad toppers. So however you find it convenient and tasty to up your legume intake, it absolutely counts. There's only a couple of things that are technically legumes that count in different like nutritional food categories. So peanuts are technically a legume and they're very beneficial, but we count them with nuts and seeds. And edible potted legumes like snow peas, snap peas, or fresh peas, or any of the bajillion different types of green beans, string beans, wax beans, noodle beans, those actually count as vegetables. And if you're interested in learning more about the nutrients that legumes contain, or their health benefits, or what counts, what the most nutrient dense options are, and tips for preparing them yourself at home, then I recommend my Nutrivore Foundational Foods ebook. And if you're looking for inspirational recipes, then I recommend my Nutrivore Cookbook ebook. You can find both of those at nutrivore.com/shop.